Many people don't think about their credit until it's too late. You go to buy a car or trying to get a mortgage, and surprise, you have low or no credit. But it's never too early or too late to secure good credit and fix your current situation. So watch this video until the end to see the 5 major mistakes to avoid. First of all, we need to review what exactly is your credit. Your credit rating is actually made up of 2 parts, your credit report and your credit score, and each plays a very important role. Credit scores and credit reports are both tools used by lenders to measure your credit risk, or just the likelihood that you will pay your bills on time. In simple terms, your credit report offers potential lenders a summary of your credit history, and your credit score is a 3-digit number, typically between 300 and 850, and it represents your overall credit risk at a quick glance. Let's look at both in more details. First up, your actual report. Your credit report contains a list of companies that have inquired about your credit history, as well as those you obtained credit from. It's a list of your credit obligations and shows how you use credit on an ongoing basis. It's pretty detailed and shows when you open the account, your various credit limits and outstanding balances. But most importantly, it also shows if you pay on time and how often you make late payments. If any of your debts are in collections, these show in a different part of your credit report, but with more detail. This is why landlords and lenders don't just want your credit score. The whole report is important and shows a broader picture of your credit history. Credit score. Oddly enough, your credit score is not on your credit report. Your score is only needed when you apply for credit, and so it's based on what is on your credit report at that exact moment. Higher credit score generally suggests to lenders that you have a history of using credit responsibly. Lower credit score may suggest that you need to improve your financial habits before taking on new credit. Your score is a ratio that indicates to a potential lender how likely you are to repay any new loan based on how you've handled credit in the past. Basically, the higher your score, the more likely creditor will lend you money with the favorable terms and conditions. Basically, crappy credit means crappy interest rate. It's important to remember that your credit score is very sensitive to changes in your financial situation and in how you use your credit. Now, let's dive into why we are all here. 5 big mistakes to avoid and how to keep top-notch credit. Mistake number 1, not checking your credit report. This is a simple one, but can save you lots of headaches down the road. It's good to review your report even just once or twice a year to take care of any discrepancies. It's possible accounts, lien, and other items you have paid off have not been updated by a company. And unfortunately, sometimes people don't find this out till they apply for a mortgage or a loan. So, by keeping an open eye on your credit, you can catch any mistakes and be proactive. Also, identity theft is becoming more and more common, so it's imperative to keep an eye on your personal information and credit history. You can get a free credit report from sites such as Equifax, Credit Karma, or TransUnion, and see if there are any red flags or errors. Mistake number 2, avoiding credit. Now, this is one mistake I personally made when I arrived in Canada. I grew up learning to only spend what you have. If you don't have money for something, you don't buy it. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still a great method to live your life and the best way to save money. We know going into debt is not the answer. However, what I quickly learned is the need to use credit responsibly. You can use it to your advantage, and it's actually a necessity, at least here in North America. So, it's an important point to remember for those just starting out, and definitely for newcomers. I grew up in France, and we don't use credit card like we do here. So it was hard to change my habits. But getting a credit card is easy enough here in Canada or the US. The hard part is using it only as needed and always paying it off on time. I can't stress this enough. Do not incur credit card debt. Paying interest that high, which is typically 19 to 22%, it's absurd. Even after almost 2 decades living in Canada, I can't wrap my head around the fact that credit card companies are allowed to gouge consumers like that. If you have a credit card, use it like a debit card. meaning that you spend only what you can afford. If you can't cover the balance of your credit card with your checking account, don't do it. And make sure to pay it off on or before the due date. And sure, not having credit means it's nearly impossible to go into debt. But it's equally impossible to buy a home without credit. Well, unless you intend on paying for the house in full in cash. But most of us don't have that type of money sitting around, so a card credit is key. Even simply renting an apartment can be a problem if you don't have a credit record, since most landlords will request a copy of your credit report. Mistake number 3, carrying large balances or maxing out your credit card. Every credit card has a maximum amount of available credit. Now, just because they set a certain limit doesn't mean that you should use all of it every month. Remember, if you do, you will have a higher credit utilization ratio. This means you can be seen as someone who is over-leveraged and too dependent on debt, which lenders and banks associate with risky behavior. It also means your minimum payments will be higher and you're more at risk of going over your assigned credit limit, which can result in penalties and in turn hits your credit score. Also, keep in mind, lenders don't define the large balance by the actual dollar amount, but how large the balance is in relation to your credit limit. So for example, someone who has a $900 balance on a card with a limit of $1,000 is seen as riskier than someone who carries the same $900 balance but with a $2,000 limit. Mistake number 4, paying bills late. Missing payments will definitely hurt your credit score. Payment history makes up for 35% of your credit score, so late or missed payments may cause a huge drop. If you constantly pay late, these show poor money management skills and signals an increased risk to potential creditors. And not only will your credit score and credit report be impacted, but you could also be subjected to higher interest rates. The easy solution to this problem is to automate all of your recurring payments to be withdrawn from your checking account. Just like we saw with the credit card, you don't want to spend over your budget. And trust me, having your payments organized and your credit card balance at zero every month will relieve a tremendous amount of stress. Mistake number 5, opening and closing too many accounts. One of the biggest ways to make your credit score drop is to open and close many different accounts at once or over a short period of time. Opening a new account or credit card can cause a temporary dip in your credit score due to hard search. So what is a hard search or inquiry? A hard inquiry occurs when a lender or other company makes a request to review your credit reports as part of a loan application. And each time this happens, it can affect your credit score. Experts say that a hard inquiry can be around 10% of your credit score, which can still make quite a difference. Also, needlessly closing an account is not good for your overall credit report. Lenders look at a credit history to see how much overall experience you have with credit. So it's best to keep a card open even if it may go unused. If there are no annual fee, it doesn't cost anything to leave the account open. If you are someone who tends to be tempted, cut the card up to ensure you don't use it again. If you have a card with an annual fee you wish to close, see if your financial institution will waive the fee or just switch to one of their no-fee alternative cards. Before we go, subscribe to my channel for more useful content about personal finance and real estate. It only takes one click. They are important topics that can transform your life and get you out of the rat race or into the investing journey you've been considering. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.